Hey friends, it's me, Micah. This is the Homestead bandwagon. Another rainy, disgusting spring day here at the bandwagon Homestead, and I have brought home a BadBoy mower. So this is the BadBoy Maverick HD. So of course there's the BadBoy Maverick. Well, this is the HD. So this is the Maverick turned to 11. A lot of things similar to the Maverick mower. This one's bigger, heavier duty, considered basically a commercial mower. And we're just gonna go through it. I'll show you some quick stuff on the machine, and then I'm just gonna get out to mowing and do some first impressions. I'm gonna mow in the mud. I'm gonna mow some sticks. I'm gonna drive on hillsides. I'm gonna do all the stuff you're not supposed to do with a zero-turn mower and see how it does, especially in these wet, slick, nasty conditions we're having today. So I like this on, it starts with the Elite and then the Maverick, and obviously this Maverick HT and above. Got these pucks here. These are rubber, but they just really take out a lot of that harshness and vibration and allow a little flex on the front end. And this front end is thick. Holy smokes. There's a lot of metal going on here. I don't see on these tires, I don't see a valve stem. So I guess those are solid tires. That's a neat little upgrade. I believe the regular Maverick doesn't have that. You know, every BadBoy is going to have this be adjustable, so you can, you know, pull out bolts and screws and change your angle here. This foot pedal, that's for raising and lowering the deck. I think that's a really nice option. Right here, this deck lid, this is a standard thing on all the mowers, opens up so we can get to the top. And they give you your belt routing guide here, which is really, really handy. And a tensioner spring here that you can adjust with a couple bolts. Nice. And I like this flat deck. It doesn't gather and store a bunch of grass. Now, one of the upgrades they tell me on this from the Maverick to the Maverick HD is the spindles are off of the bigger, heavier duty models. And that is always a good thing, having these big, heavy spindles. You know, you'll end up having less spindle wobble, less belt wear over time in theory. And this deck, man, this thing is thick. This is over a 7-gauge deck from what I understand. Nice and thick. And I like that you can stand on that deck and you're not going to break it, because that's how I get off these mowers, man, is stand on the deck. These bales are adjustable. That's standard on a Maverick. This seat is an upgrade from the Maverick. So this is a air ride seat that you can adjust for approximate weight. I don't know who put this all the way at 280, but whatever, we'll get that figured out. Cup holder, nice holder for a GoPro. Now, this is a nice seat, and these armrests are adjustable too, so you can adjust the angle at which they sit. That's a nice thing. And the seat does slide back and forth. These ROPs are foldable. These are their cool Reaper tires. This is like a BadBoy exclusive tire, so that's part of this HD package. This is an option. This is a carrier we put on the back. Just seemed useful. You know, you can throw a cooler back there or something, I don't know. Seemed like a useful thing, so we popped one on there. And it makes it kind of hard to see the engine, but this is a 730 Kawasaki. It says 726cc on the side, so I don't know. But it's an FX version. It's got the big air intake on it. That is an upgrade on this machine. So that's something that makes the Maverick HD different than the standard Maverick. Just a bigger engine and bigger transmissions as well, which we can't see, but that is one of the upgrades you get on these guys. And another belt routing guide on the rear end down there. Very convenient. This is another thing we threw on here. This is an option. This is a line trimmer or weed whacker holder. I'm going to throw one on here so we can go out and do a little maintenance around the place. I think that's a really, really, really nice feature. And this thing is solid metal, and you can unbolt it, change the length. I really like that upgrade. Fuel goes in here. Deck height adjusters there. Throttle. That's where you put your key. That's what you pull to make the blades go. Seat belt. These are really important, man. More people need to wear their seat belts. And this is actually a tachometer as well as an hour meter, so it'll tell you your RPMs. And from my understanding, just point of order, these machines just meant to be run at full RPMs. The only reason to turn them down is if you're yakking at your nosy neighbor or something. So choke is right here. There's your brake. And then I'm going to pop the seat open here, or up. So there's a bar down here to do that. One-handed, no problem. And this little strap holding the seat so it doesn't flop over. I love how accessible this is. I can get to everything on this machine. So that's really, really, really nice. You got some adjustments here, which I'm not going to go through, but there's some adjustments here for your lap bars or bales that kind of adjusts how they respond. So if you want a softer feel or a harder feel, then there's spring tension you can adjust here. So really nice setup on this machine. And fuel switch on or off right there. And you can't see the transmissions, but they're in there. This has the big transmissions on it, the big Hydro Gear commercial. I don't remember what model they are. You can look that up. So, okay, we've yacked enough. Yeah, let's jump on this thing. We'll go right into the danger zone, so to speak, with this Maverick. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is, this is a big muddy area that hasn't quite got established as pasture yet. I've been trying to drain it. There's a bunch of standing water here. There's some swamp grass. And here's my drainage ditch. Oh, my feet are getting wet and I'm not wearing my galoshes. Here's my drainage ditch. And this is really soft ground. Yeah, I'm sinking in here. So there's a big drainage going right through here, and it bisects the property. I'm gonna drive the mower through here, see if it gets stuck. That's probably the last thing I should do, you know, when I'm supposed to be mowing, but whatever, we're gonna do the fun stuff first. See if we can get this thing stuck, and then we'll go on to mowing. I got some hillsides to do. So first thing we'll do is the mud test. Holy smokes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we've established that this mower is not appropriate for driving through ankle-deep mud. So we'll see if it's what else it could do. I mean, maybe it can mow grass, I guess. Okay, so I was mowing and the mower quit right in the middle of the field, and the fuel filter, there's no fuel in it. So I thought it ran dry. The gauge says I got plenty, but there's 2 tanks, 1, 2, and the hoses come out and they meet up here and then they feed the engine. So the fuel is on, but I put some more fuel over there. I didn't have much, but we're gonna see if this thing starts up. I don't know, maybe the fuel gauge is bad. There's a possibility of that. There's some fuel, see? Some fuel's bubbling up in here now. Almost there. There we go. All right, I gotta go buy some more fuel. Okay, so I went and grabbed some fuel. So we've discovered that this machine doesn't operate in ankle-deep mud and won't operate without fuel. So these are good things to know, you know. As soon as I get it fueled up here, I've got the line trimmer on here. Go out and just do some mowing. I always see people doing mow tests like a really tall, dry grass. I don't think that's a real test of a mower. I think the real test of a mower is really thick, wet grass, and that's what we got going on out here. So I'm gonna go find just the thickest, wettest, ugliest grass and start mowing through it as soon as I finish filling this thing up with fuel. So that's what we're gonna do in just a sec here. Here's why this deck lift is so handy. Hey, Mr. Stick that was about to destroy my belts. Get out of there. All right, back to mowing. Okay, so result time. What do I think of this BadBoy Maverick HD? We'll start with the hill that I just did. This behaves a lot like a zero turn on a hill. When you're going straight up and down the hills, they do fine. It stopped in the middle of the hill going full speed, no problem, thanks to these big Reaper tires keeping a lot of contact with the ground. They have offset lugs in them, which clear out very easily. So the thing, in my opinion, did really well going up and down hills. Side hills, it maintained traction very well, didn't go sliding downhill even though it was wet. Now, of course, when I'm steering hard while going sideways on a hill, you could break traction very easily and kind of go skating away, but then it would grab traction and complete that corner for me, but I was kind of drifting as I did it. So it's still a zero turn on hills. You got to kind of finesse it a little bit. You know, you can't just go out there and Mad Max it. But these tires really did do a good job. And the transmissions on these things, I didn't really hear them getting overworked, getting overheated. I think that they really put the power to the ground very well. And that is one thing I saw that was kind of a negative is, you know, if you pull these sticks back or just pop them forward, you can make this thing pop a wheelie. And that's really fun for impressing the boys. But when you're mowing, I'd be in a situation where I was like trying to get control and turn uphill and kind of regain my momentum. And I would be going uphill and all of a sudden my front tires were coming off the ground. A little bit sketchy. I was able to maintain control, but it was a little surprising. And I had a couple times where I did like a quick evasive maneuver just to see what would happen out in the field. Actually once on accident because I almost ran over some concrete. And I did that and jerking the sticks, my front wheels came off the ground and it surprised me because this mower is it is pretty short, which is great because you can fit into small spaces well. And it's funny because it's kind of short and stocky because the rear wheels are only about 4 inches inside of where the deck is. And so, you know, getting up on like garden beds and stuff, you might, you know, kind of crush those bed edges a bit if you're trying to really cut on them. But I think 3-4 inches is probably enough to make that gap. But it's something to keep in mind because it is a heavy machine. So if you've got soft garden edges, this might kind of compress them. And then speaking of edges, another thing I liked about this mower is the blades come very close to the edge of the deck. So I call that stretching the blades. And so when you're stretching the blades, you know, you're working up against a hardscape, kind of scraping a hardscape with your deck. It doesn't leave this giant strip of grass. Sometimes we'll see these mowers like this where it's a big looking deck. Well, the blades, you know, are like 3 or 4 inches from the side of the deck. And so you leave these giant strips of grass that are unmowed, even if you're working up against the side of like a raised garden bed or a hardscape. So this one doesn't do that. The blades stretch very well to the edge of that hardscape with your deck up against it. So I did like that. This thing is comfortable. This front end, you know, it was always moving, taking the bumps. Under the body, there's more of these rubber pucks that also take up a bunch of that vibration and harshness. And then the seat, super duper comfy. Even underfoot, it feels like it's a little bouncy. So, you know, when I was out there just getting rocked on the bumps, I felt like I could maintain my speed without getting beat up. And the machine actually did really well in really bumpy areas with just sticking with it and being glued to the ground. Because again, I think it is kind of heavy with a good low center of gravity. The sticks on this one, they stay out when you push them out. Sometimes you have to actually physically pull them back. So sometimes I wanted to make a quick stop and I was like, oh, I gotta pull these things. I think you can adjust that, but you do really have to tell these sticks that you want them to move, which means that you're not going to accidentally just hit a bump and then be jerked to the side, which happens with a lot of zero turns. It means that you are choosing when to turn, when to go forward and when to go back. But I did sometimes have problems saying, hey, where's my stop at here? There's not a natural stop. You just got to kind of find it. So that's something to get used to. But they were comfortable. Even for me, I'm not a small dude, but you can adjust these, you can adjust this seat. So the comfort on this thing is just second to none. And again, sticks are very responsive. Like it goes where you tell that you want to go. And you can also use your cup holder while driving one-handed, which is kind of nice because the sticks don't just snap back to center. So something real nice there. Small complaint, the deck is really slick. So if you go to get off the deck and it's wet like that, you can go flying off it. So, you know, keep that in mind. I don't know. Engine has lots of power, wasn't too noisy. Transmissions don't feel like they're being overworked. I just feel like overall it's a very well thought out, well built machine. Certainly a commercial machine, but if you're a residential user with, you know, big production needs, a large area that's maybe not the nicest, like our place that kind of beats up a mower, man, this thing would I think really handle it well. I'd certainly recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because I sell it, maybe a little bit, but good mower. I wish the fuel gauge would work. I'm gonna have to go check that out. But other than that, I had a really trouble-free time with this thing. I would like to go try the mud pit just one more time though. Maybe it's crazy, maybe it's reckless, but I want to mow into the danger zone. Let's go try it one more time.